Yeah, I think ancient or more primitive cultures have a better handle on this in a sense than our culture does because you raise your child to be afraid of the bears and the scorpions and the rivers, and they would put them through an initiation, and that initiation is facing them with their fears. And when you're completely faced with your fears and nobody's saving you, one kind of automatic shift, and it happens in hypnotherapy, it happens in religious experiences, is you pull in and just give into it. And that produces this toggle, this shift. And now that young brave can become an adult in the culture.
And we have lost a lot of rites of passage in our culture.
What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
And we are back talking about emotional transformation with my guest, Laurie Heusinger, author of The Toggle Effect and creator of this amazing technique to shift emotional energy and the profound effects that it can have on our body, on our health, on our relationships. So, Laurie, you shared some stories earlier on how people are using this. One thing we didn't touch on is, how parents might use it with kids. And I definitely in this segment want to let people know what resources and tools that you have that they can access online.
Okay. Yeah, the kids, that's a beautiful subject. I have six grandchildren, so they were my
Oh,
practice subjects. And we found that it works very well with children, even though they don't need a full explanation. They can just follow the lead. And because we know the emotional system comes up in threes, the way that I started with my grandchildren is I said, all right, you guys, remember how Batman was in the movie? He was afraid of bats and he got stuck in the cave with bats and he got stuck with all of his fear. And from that, he was able to come out as Batman with all of his power, with superpower. And I said, I'm going to show you how to do that. And so we went to the bunk bed and we put blankets around it like we were in a cave. And I said, okay, you guys, I'm going to do it with you. We're going to do a sad, a mad, and a scared. We're going to do three of them. And so I'd say, okay, everybody. And so as a parent, you want to do this too, because we're part of the reason why they have emotional stress, because that's part of life. But if we're moving ours, it helps them move theirs. And so I'd
mm.
say, all right, everybody, think of something that makes you scared. And then and then go, okay, do you guys feel the fear? And we would talk through, okay, focus on the fear. What color is it? Now let's pull it in. Let's pull it in. And then we would go through sad, mad, and scared. We do the three. And then after that, because the kids were the reason we would even do it is because the kids were fighting, they were irritable. And afterwards, you would just hear laughter and joy going on in the house. I was like, man, that is amazing. We started finding that it was improving their cognitive skills at school. They could use it when they're taking tests or when they're being confronted by a bully or whatever that the situation was. They actually now have a tool that they can focus on how they feel, pull it in, it'll shift, and their higher mind will then kick right in. So it's a beautiful thing to work with kids. We had one young lady who had ADHD, and her mother didn't want to start the medications right away. And so she brought her in to, we'll teach her this technique. And she said it worked so well for her performance at school. The child even went out on the playground and was teaching other kids how to do it, which I thought was so beautiful.
I
So
think we need
yes,
that in all schools, don't you think? Yeah.
I
And
think
that
so.
And the way you just explained that to me almost makes it easier for me and for adults to understand that this is not really something super technical, that it is really just working with the core emotions, and that we do have the ability to shift from the inside out. How beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
And so
And I
you
think
have some,
ancient, yeah, I think ancient or more primitive cultures have a better handle on this in a sense than our culture does because you raise your child to be afraid of the bears and the scorpions and the rivers, but then they would put them through an initiation, and that initiation is facing them with their fears. And when you're completely faced with your fears and nobody's saving you, one kind of automatic shift, and it happens in hypnotherapy, it happens in religious experiences, is you pull in and just give into it. And that produces this toggle, this shift. And now that young brave can become an adult in the culture, in their village, um, in their village, basically. So,
yes, and we have lost a lot of rites of passage in our culture. You are so correct. And what those are really all about is facing our fear and facing
yes.
those shadows and facing those, you know, dark emotions. And what you mentioned earlier is that there is an actual frequency of the emotions. And when we face that and bring it in, then our brain, our pineal gland, that organ in the middle of our gland, in the middle of our brain, knows how to make that transformation. How beautiful.
Right. It just by the function of the crystals as it's being impacted, it gets more intensified, intense, 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 flip. You're like,
Yeah,
huh.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So for people who are hearing this, who are like, okay, this makes sense. I maybe have had a mystery illness, or I've had something going on, or I have people in my life that I'm caring for that I want to help and offer some of these tools to. How can they learn more? How can they either work with you or access some of your tools and resources online?
well, all of the above. The book that I wrote is called The Toggle Effect. I'll put it there. There we go. The Toggle Effect, and it's available on Amazon. I also have a YouTube channel where it's some of these visuals. I put them up there for people that I was working with, teaching that they could go back and get a refresher in between sessions. When I do sessions with people, we talk through enough so that they're getting a sense of how to use this on their own. As a therapist, I think one of the most empowering things is for somebody to be learning something that they can continue with. We certainly can be, they can utilize our sessions to explore deeper issues and even make more profound changes in their life. But the basic ability to shift this, you can go right to the YouTube channel called The Toggle Effect, I think Stress Busters, and rewatch the videos. There's one of the videos that it says just it's a demonstration, and you would just close your eyes and it just talks you through it. Now that you have a sense of what it is, then you can be talked through it pretty simply. So
Mhm.
that's basically it. The website is called The Toggle Effect. The book is called The Toggle Effect, and the YouTube, all of them.
Lori, thank you for bringing this important topic to light and for sharing it in a way that I think people can understand. I really appreciate the depth of the work that you've done. Your own story of transformation and how you came to this is just remarkable. So we really appreciate you joining us. And if you had one kind of closing thought or wish or piece of, inspiration for our listeners, what would that be?
Well, for those of us on our mission to look for things that help us in life and we want to attain something better within ourselves, I would say the worst feelings that you can conjure up are the access point to the kind of shift you're really looking for. So it would be that. And so very, very gingerly come through your emotional system, but be willing to embrace it and say, okay, ugly feeling, I see you there. And, you have a gift for me, and now I'm going to bring it, bring you in.
Mm, so powerful and profound. Thank you for joining us. I encourage everybody to check out Laurie's book. It is fantastic, The Toggle Effect, and to go to her website and YouTube channel, The Toggle Effect, and see what happens. And leave a note in the comments if you found this inspirational, if you try this and you have some results that you want to share. Talk to us, leave a comment, and we look forward to staying in touch. Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivatude your next chapter because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.